This is 91.1 KLSU, and this is Nick at Nite. We have Hal Lambert in the studio and Mitchell Mobley on the phone. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. Pretty good.
Good. All right, so you guys are in here to talk about Dadaist tapes. So, Hal, let's get into that just a little bit. When did these tapes come out?
So Dadaist Tapes is a label that's run by a guy in Belgium named Jeff Mertens. And he is like a musician and filmmaker. And I think he gets money from the Belgian government. Like he got a grant to do this project. So he would make all the tapes available for free. And, you just like pay shipping. So he had some cool tapes. Like he had a tape by Bill Nace, which was really cool. And Tashi Dori, another guitar player who's really great. So I was like buying these tapes, and then finally Jeff hit me up and he's like, "Hey man, I enjoy your music. We should work on something together." And that was last summer. And it just came out at the beginning of June.
And when did this recording process happen? He said you hit you guys up last summer. So how long did it take you guys to finish product, I guess?
It was actually part of a recording session that we did in like 2019. Is that right, Al?
It was in November. It was like October, November of 2020.
2020. Okay, yeah. So we'd kind of been sitting on some of these recordings for a minute.
Yeah. So we had
at least the B side of the tape, at least.
Yeah, we had maybe 2 hours worth of recordings that we had selected from like these sessions, and the B side of the tape is me and Mitchell, it's from those sessions. We did it with Ben Livingston at Earthship Records here in town, and then the A side is a solo performance that I did at Yes We Cannibal, which is a free art space in Baton Rouge. And that was opening up for Renee Reed, who is a Lafayette-based singer and songwriter. So it's a live recording on one side, and that's from last summer, and then some recordings from 2020 as well.
And what were the 2020 session recordings? Was that venues, or was those sessions with yourselves, or? That
was at Earthship Records with Ben Livingston. Mm-hmm. He recorded those.
So would you say, when it comes to influences on this album, is there any? Could you point to any influences on this album, on this tape, I guess, for yourself and you, Mitch?
Why don't you go first, Mitchell?
I know at the time I was listening to a lot of actually Tashi Dori, and then the Dead Sea as well. They're one of their early albums. Can I curse on this? Is this going to be online or the radio?
You can go for it.
I was listening to their album Trapdoor Fucking Exit, which is really cool and kind of a similar setup to us. But yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, that was
it. At least for the side that's me and Mitchell, Dead Sea, big fan. And they're kind of like drums kind of lead the way, and then the guitars are like texture. And there's still like several recordings from those sessions that didn't make it onto the tape that you can hear on a CD that we have called Rat Tattoo, and like in there, like there's like a deconstruction of a Neil Young song. We like did some like covers, like we did the Twin Peaks.
The Twin Peaks thing.
Yeah, and this Eric's Settee, I say that right, piece. So it's kind of like all over the place. It like started, it was going to be a solo thing, and I asked like Mitchell to come, and then it like turned into like a duo recording session. And then the A side of the tape, that's just like that was just like my improv set at the time. And at the end, you can hear there's like a Chuck Berry recording, which I was really digging at the time, and then this piece by John Fahey. So it's like the like performance, like noise, and then it kind of like disintegrates into this like classic rock and roll, and then like this American primitive guitar playing. So I'm trying to make it like structure, just flow a little bit.
So when you guys a couple weeks ago, you guys performed the live room here, when you guys performed, is that off this tape, or is that something separate?
Mitchell?
Usually when we play, it's kind of improvised, so we don't really repeat things. Like sometimes we'll have like a similar target for kind of what we want something to sound like, but it's always like somewhat different. So like when we did that live room, we really just kind of went in with the structure of what we wanted to do, like how we wanted like the arc of what we were going to play go, and then figured in like a time that we kind of how long we wanted it to be, and then kind of just did the rest like improvising.
Yeah, we had a rough structure. We had been like kind of like polishing, but like if there's like recordings that we have available on our Bandcamp, and I mean the recordings are going to sound different based on how far along we were like in our like collaborative process, or like what kind of instrumentation Mitchell is using. We have some stuff like maybe our like more recent stuff is kind of like more like rock or like rhythm based, and like earlier stuff
more groove based for sure,
and like earlier stuff is like more like texture and space.
And are you guys still going in that direction of groove based now, or what direction are you two headed in now? If you guys still are going to be working together in the future?
Right.
Well, we are, but it's like kind of, I wouldn't say like we plan too far in ahead. Like we don't have any shows lined up, so like we don't, it's like we're gonna cross that bridge when we get to it. I think I'll speak for myself, and like I prefer to keep things like open ended.
Yeah, same.
So
I would say on the record that we're coming out with, it's kind of like, I would say the majority is probably groove based, but there are like long extended sections that are kind of arrhythmic.
Yeah.
And more like meditative.
you said that's the upcoming record?
Well, it's out.
The rat
It's
tattoo,
out.
right?
Yeah, it's a CD
Yeah.
that I put out. But hopefully we have some. We don't have anything lined up. There's nothing lined up. So if anyone's like listening to this and wants to work with us, hit us up.
Okay, so you said no events, gigs lined up right now. If there's anywhere in Baton Rouge, or maybe we could even say New Orleans, that you could perform at, like they would say yes. Where do you guys want to? Any personal favorites that you haven't performed at yet? I guess.
Mitchell?
Wait, you answer first. Let me think of something.
I don't, maybe like playing like Fred's would be cool. Like we put like either. Like one way or another, like we played at like the Varsity, we played at the Ballroom, we played at Yes We Cannibal, like Fred's, that'd be cool. And we're trying to like break into the New Orleans like free jazz and like improv scene slowly but surely. So hopefully we'll be going to New Orleans soon, and I'm trying to get something booked in Lafayette. That's where I'm from, but it doesn't seem like much stuff is going on in Lafayette either. So if you're from Lafayette and you're listening, call me.
How about you, Mitch? Any personal favorite venues, or any wish list venues?
I mean, for what we're doing, I think kind of more divier place is kind of more fun for the context. So like in New Orleans, Bank Street Bar would be really fun for our set.
Yeah, we don't like. It seems kind of weird sometimes. Like maybe our stuff is kind of like antagonistic or weird or like whatever. But I think we both come from, like, part of this comes from like a rock tradition. So like we don't mind like playing with people who don't sound exactly like us. Like
right.
We want to like show the like possibilities for like both of these kinds of music, and like like playing with Renee Reed, whose music is like very like stark. Like sitting here like listening to that. Was just so amazing, and juxtaposed, from my set earlier, which is like very loud and intense, and you kind of like get lost in it that way. With like Renee's music, you kind of get lost in its, and just how like bare and like simple it is, and like beautiful. So I think the whole thing is like getting lost. So it seems like there's kind of like boxes, like the boxes like these bands are gonna play like this. So there's gonna be like 4 like punk bands on a bill. But if we had our way, I guess maybe I'll speak for myself. We'd like to like more like cross pollination.
Okay, so following up on that, let's say you could do a dream gig this weekend, right? You can pick 4 sets. Who you picking? You can go with yourself too.
They local?
Yeah, local. And I guess you guys can both chime
in.
You
do too, and I'll do too, Mitchell.
Okay.
I'd like to get Ben and Jeff Livingston doing something.
That's our ship records you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah, him and his brother, they're awesome. And my two are...
They're in a lot of projects.
So I'm going to say Ben and Jeff are one act. And there's this dude, Dylan Burchett, who we've played with before too, who I think is really awesome. So he'd be on the bill.
You, Mitch?
I always think we've opened up for them before, but it is fun to play with like a more like regular rock and roll bands. Like Loudness War would be cool.
Yeah.
Or even Split, which is like, you know, kind of their sister act.
Yeah.
Seeing Wasteman live was really fun. I don't even know if they play anymore. But yeah, like a trashier kind of punk sound would also, I think, go well.
Yeah, I feel like I want to play where like people are like really like drunk and like bumping into each other.
So Fred's.
Like I want to, yeah, maybe
Reggie's,
so.
Yeah.
Well, I want to play like a punk show, and I want to be like sweaty, and I want to like, I don't know, freak out with the punks.
Okay, so we're talking about groups and artists. Is there any artists in Baton Rouge local that you want to work with? You know, specifically that you just haven't had that chance to. It hasn't happened yet. I mean, or New Orleans, I guess. You said you want to expand down there.
Well, I don't know about working with like collaborating directly, but I mean, like, there's plenty of acts we'd like to share a bill with. Yeah.
And so you mentioned earlier that we were talking about these bills that some of these guys are involved in a lot of groups. Is that common in Baton Rouge? And like, what groups are y'all involved in individually? And you know, what are y'all doing in the scene?
Mitchell?
We're both part of Wumbo, which, you know, has been around for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we have some shows, a show coming up in Baton Rouge, another one in New Orleans.
Yeah, we got a record coming out with Wumbo, and then Mitchell and I play together, and then we each have like a solo practice as well. So Mitchell does solo percussion, and I've been working with the guy that I mentioned earlier, Dylan Burchett, who's like experimental laptop musician. Trying to work with him more in the future as well.
All right. Well, I got one last question for both of y'all. You're on a desert island, and you get to pick 3 records. It's the only things you can listen to for the rest of your life. What are you picking, and why?
I'm gonna bring I don't know, maybe like one of the first 2 Stooges records, and then like a 80s Sonic Youth record, and then maybe like a Dead Sea, like I don't know. You get bored of listening to the same stuff all the time. I'd probably figure out a way to record it onto like a palm leaf and like make my own music. What about Mitchell?
I would say the CD I probably have listened to the most would be like that John Coltrane live in Japan recording. I'd have to do like a country thing, like Waylon and Willie maybe, and then maybe like that Magic Markers record that I like, the Surrender to the Fantasy.
Yeah, I'd pick Everybody Couldn't by Wumbo, Depression Era Guitar by Wumbo, and then Rat Tattoo by Hal Lambert and Mitchell Mobley.
Yeah, those 3.
All right, there you go. This has been 91.1 KLSU of Hal Lambert and Mitchell Mobley. Thank you two for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Mitchell.
Bye.